the Cleveland Browns making some big signings in free agency. I love some of the moves they've made. And before I get into who they signed, well, actually, yeah, we'll start with who they signed. They brought in tight end Austin Hooper from the Atlanta Falcons, who has become one of the more dominant tight ends in the NFL over the last couple of seasons. I really would put him in that top 5 or 6 range. I think he's a tier down from guys like George Kittle, Travis Kelce, Zach Ertz. I think he's in that next tier. A good tight end. I think he's going to be a reliable option. He's going to be far more reliable than David Njoku was for Baker Mayfield. A healthier option at tight end as well. Love the signing, but I think the biggest signing, they also brought in safety Andrew Sendejo, really good guy in the back end in the secondary. But I think the best signing that they have made this offseason, I think it was an absolute need, an absolute necessity, was bringing in an offensive tackle, and they brought in Jack Conklin from the Tennessee Titans, the team that made it all the way to the AFC Championship in a magical run. This was exactly what the Cleveland Browns needed, was an offensive tackle. They needed someone that was going to protect Baker Mayfield. He did not have a lot of help last year. Cleveland Browns had one of the worst offensive lines and some of the worst tackles in the National Football League. And Baker Mayfield really struggled last year. Now, a lot of that has to do with his play as well, and the players around him. Odell Beckham Jr. not being that consistent. Freddie Kitchens, who was a first-year head coach last year, ended up getting fired. Really never stuck to a specific game plan. It seemed like what they should have been doing was running the ball with Nick Chubb a lot, really heavy run game, and then the pass game is secondary with Baker Mayfield. And Freddie Kitchens would always go away from the run, really wanted to pass all the time, and it just never worked. It never did. But I think having Jack Conklin now on the offensive line at tackle, I think that's going to really help protect Baker Mayfield. It's going to make things a lot easier for him. And he's going to have a lot more time in the pocket to throw. He's not going to have to scramble as much. He's not going to have to force throws. And I think we're going to see an uptick in production from Baker Mayfield in year number 3. He didn't have a full first season after Tyrod Taylor started the first couple of games, but had a full second year, wasn't as good. I think third year, this is where we start to see a better Baker Mayfield. But I will say, please stop with the hype. We're not starting this train again. After the Browns brought in Odell Beckham Jr. in a trade with the New York Giants last year, everybody was hooting and hollering, and they thought the Browns were going to go to the AFC Championship. And that couldn't have been further than what the reality was. The Browns are historically very bad, and they've got a lot of talent. They had a lot of talent last year. They've got a lot of talent this year. But talent means absolutely nothing, and I think the Browns are living proof of that. They're a poorly run organization that cannot get out of its own way. And until they prove to the world that they can go out there and win games, make the playoffs, you got to make the playoffs first. If you can make the playoffs, that's the first step. Then you make a deep playoff run. Then maybe you get into that Super Bowl conversation. But until the Browns prove it to us, I'm not going to buy the hype train anymore. I'm not going to hop on that train. I'm not hopping on the bandwagon. I need the Browns to prove it to me. You've got Baker Mayfield. You just signed Jack Conklin, so you got a better offensive line. You brought in Austin Hooper, who is a reliable tight end, top 6 or 7 in the league. You have Juice Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr. on the outside, 2 of the best receivers in the game. And then you have a duo in the backfield of Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. There's no excuses now on offense. Defensively, the Browns are already pretty good. They're going to get Myles Garrett back after he was reinstated from his suspension last year. Their defense is fine. The offense is the problem. And we'll see how their new head coach offensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings, Kevin Stefanski, does. But there's no more excuses. And I'm not hopping on the hype train until they prove to me that they can go out there and win some football games.